in a pickle, just make sure it's kosher. Lean on me like Bill Withers until you smell the roses. And if you wanna be a chef, then I say cook it up. And if you wanna be the champ, well I say hook it up. Cause I can never tell you what you can't be. Yes I can, see a failure is something you can't be. Plus, I'll get you a shuttle if you feel that you need space. The sky's the limit, get you wings for your birthday. Whatever makes you happy, if you like it, then I love it. Turning nothing into something, I'm all in and I ain't bluffing. I'm who you got when the world ain't got your back, man. I pull over when life puts you in the fast lane. I'm in your corner like Bandini, if you tumble, I'd tell you like him. Rumble, young man, rumble, see. Some women go cause I ain't make them happiest. But who am I to impede on somebody's happiness? I guess I learned a lot by going with the flow of things. You fight the current like salmon, we die and go insane. That's why I stay up in my lane, just be a lyricist. And yes, I'm multifaceted, but not omnipotent. And what I do know is we all gon' have a path to take. And I won't be the one that's standing in somebody's way. There ain't no perfect life or perfect way to get success. But there's a perfect way to take the time to be yourself. And you gon' find it when you find it, ain't no rushing that. Too many get running this rat race, how many gon' just relax? When life ain't just about money, Jesus ain't die rich. Neither did Martin Luther Gandhi or Malcolm X. And one say life gon' constantly change, so don't get stuck in one space, you won't be open for things. So what's going on? What's happening? L.A.R. movement still moving. You see the title. So we're going to get into the topic. So I'm going to say this. I watched some things today that made me talk about this. And what I did was I watched, how can I say this? I remember watching a video about Brittany Griner being forced to pay child support, I think from Willie D. I watched a Cher Sade video with Umar in the quote unquote deadbeat dad situation. I watched a couple of videos with Anton Daniels having a panel. Some of it was about red pill, some of it was about the strong black woman narrative. I watched the Arab dude who talks about who kind of dressed like Malcolm X, but he was just talking about justice in general. I watched some of Roger. Oh man, it was a long panel, but it was about black women's desire to fail. And I watched a video with quote unquote Lil Bill talking about Doechii is right, straight men kind of suck. And I watched Mr. Z, his commentary on it. So all of this, but I watched a few other things while it happened. But I'm just laying the groundwork for why I'm having this video, okay? So that's what that is. 1 second, though. Give me 1 second. Excuse me. Now that that's out the way, this is the reason why I'm having this conversation, because there comes a point where I've noticed, whether I'm listening to men talk or women talk, about these topics, we ignore women having bad character. And that's becoming, and that is a huge problem. It's not becoming a problem. It's a huge problem already. So let me say this, like even with the Brittany Griner situation, Brittany Griner is a woman who who wanted to be a who is or whatever a lesbian who wants to take on the quote unquote role of a man, and basically the courts forced her to be a baby daddy, right, and take on the responsibility, right. But if I'm not mistaken, her ex-wife got married to a guy, or she's with a guy, and I think that guy's the actual father. And this is the character issue I'm talking about. You got to excuse me. I'm kind of under the weather, so if I pause, it's because I'm silencing because I'm coughing or whatever. So the issue becomes it's normal, it's normal behavior in those situations. If a woman puts a man, let's just say, on child support, and the guy winds up not being the father, it's normal that she actually knows who the father is, and it's normal that the actual father isn't going to do a doggone thing. He can be a quote unquote deadbeat while this other guy pays and takes care of his kid. That's a normal behavior, and the mom's cool with that. So we have issues, and that's a character issue. You get what I'm saying? That is a huge character issue. It's a character flaw. It's a character issue. So now we have this going on in our society on a regular basis. To me, which is problematic, because once again we're ignoring the bad character. So same thing I saw, I think with Pink Book. It She made a video recently where the little girl who got hit, the young lady who got hit in the head with the baton at the track meet, not an NAACP is supposed to be like talking to their family to not press charges on the other girl because I guess she's a black girl. But I was talking to my wife about it. I was like, in track now, they have relays that are co-ed, boys and girls, men and women, even in the Olympics. And I was like, well, if that would have been a boy on that leg of the race, and that girl would have got hit in the head, it'd be a completely different story. Completely different story. So, but because the young lady hit the girl in the head and she cried and made it about her and her emotional well-being, people just skipped over the fact that that girl never apologized. She could have said it was a mistake and apologized, but she never even did that. Her family never did that. So to me, that lets me know you did it and you did it on purpose, but you just have bad character and people are covering that up. And unfortunately, when I have the when I'm having this topic in this conversation, this is what it's about. Like, we're ignoring the bad character and we're acting like it's just like, no big deal. I can't say jail time because in sports there's plenty of fights and dirty things that happen, whether it's on a football field, basketball court, um, not necessarily track, wrestling, wrestling match that in a normal setting you would go to jail for, but because it's in athletics, they just kind of let people say, the emotions took the best of that person and let's move on. But in that scenario, that girl should be probably suspended for the rest of the season. She shouldn't be in any more track meets. That's for doggone sure. But when I'm talking about character, that's part of the issue. Now, um, what's going on? Now, Mr. Z was talking about this guy Lil Bill, and I watched the guy's video first, and he's like, Dochi, I think that's her name. Basically a female rapper who's bisexual, I believe, said that her red flag was straight men, and the guy was like, straight men kind of do suck, and I'm sitting there like, okay, so I don't understand how you don't understand that's bad character. It's horrible character. Right. That's crazy. you know And what I mean by even with the Dochi cat, the Dochi lady or whatever, it's one of those situations where you can say basically it's a red flag to be a heterosexual man. And nobody says you have bad character when you're not a heterosexual woman. It doesn't dawn on people that this person ain't even heterosexual. It doesn't click that people go, oh, they're not even dealing with the people they're talking about. But then they'll go, oh well, I'm bisexual. And it's like, so if you're dealing with men and you're bisexual, then what's the problem? You know, so you're cool with a straight woman, a bisexual woman, a gay woman, a gay man, a bisexual man, but the red flag is being straight out of those scenarios, and it comes off as dumb. And the reason I get into that is because we ignore, because a young black woman said it, we ignore that that's a bad character trait. And I would have been on here earlier, but I was kind of having a discussion with my wife about it because she was asking me questions, and she was like, do he said, do you trust women? And I'm a person that believes in trust in the sense of I trust you to be you. So we was having a discussion about it, and I'm saying, like, I trust people to be who they are, but I was like, there's a difference between morality between men and women, and the reason why I say that is because there, uh, I was explaining. I said, if a man is a cheater, he's going to be considered a bad man. If a man is abusive, he's going to be considered a bad man. Something's wrong with his character. I was like, but if a woman is a cheater, it's going to be, well, what did he do? And if a woman is abusive, it's going to be, what did he do? So her bad character gets excused. So it makes it more, it makes it more likely she can be more devious. And in society, that's who winds up raising kids, devious people who play the game of being good people. And now we have an issue because we're ignoring the character, and we're not getting to the principles of what's right and what's wrong, because what's right and what's wrong has principles with men, but when it's women having these same quote unquote principles, they're gender biased. You get what I'm saying? So I was explaining. I said, well, if I was like, if a woman, if a man is a man has principles with or without love. So we have the same principles if we love people or if we hate people. They're still considered the same principles. I was like, but women, it comes off like if women love you, they have these principles, and if they don't love you, they have these principles, and they don't line up the same. So it's a character issue. So you have people out here, if I love you, I won't lie to you. Or if I love you, I'll lie to you. But if I don't love you, I can do whatever. And it doesn't add up. Excuse me. I had to, I'm coughing, whatever. So now we're living in a time period where bad character is normalized. So when I'm listening to the Anton show, and there's a lady on the show, and they're talking about things, and it's a lady and a guy, and they're talking about the issues between men and women, and I realized that when I'm listening to them, that women's bad character is so normalized. We don't look at it as people live their life in it. Like, you can be a bad woman and have bad character and get rewarded by the court system. So I'm sitting there like, okay, so now y'all don't realize that you've enabled bad behavior to the point where it's normal. And they're sitting there like, and I don't get it. And at one point they were talking about paternity fraud. And one of the guys said, paternity paternity testing should be mandatory. And the other guy was like, it's not that big of a deal in the sense, it only happens like 5% of the time. When I think the truth is, in America, it happens like close to 30% of the time. And I thought about it. I said, oh, when I'm listening to this guy, I realized something. When people say something's normal, he's like trying to be an ambiguous in the sense of like, if it ain't happening to the majority of people, it's not normal. And I'm like, that's BS, because if paternity fraud happens with baby boomers, which we get the phrase of mama's baby, daddy's maybe, dang, it went up to 40. Jeez, and then Gen X, we know about paternity fraud, and then millennials know about paternity fraud, and zillennials know about paternity fraud. Then obviously it's normalized. And the reason why I say that is because we basically live in a society where you don't have to look any further than your family or friend circle to know of paternity fraud. Within those 4 generations. But at some point, we're gonna have to deal with the fact of the matter is, we have a character issue now, because you can do something like that and nobody has an issue. And I was explaining it, I was explaining it in the sense of being governed and ungoverned. And I was like, the issue is women can have bad character because our society, it doesn't just coddle, it enables it. So I was saying, like, okay, let's just say a woman was married to a guy and the guy was cheated on her, right? Or the guy was abusive. She can go to court and basically, divorce the guy, get half, yada, yada, yada. Get half, get even more because she got cheated on and she got abused. What's happening? I was like, but on the flip side of that, if the woman was cheating on the guy and she was abusive, guess what? She gets the same deal. And we even see that, we saw that just a few days ago, or, in the last week with Xavier Worthy. The girlfriend gets caught cheating, a fiance gets caught cheating, and she assaults him and he goes to jail. Right. And now she's trying to, make a case, a civil case to sue him for her getting caught cheating and her being abusive and her lying to get him locked up. But we ignore their bad character, because that in itself should be cause to go to jail. See, now we have issue after issue after issue, and it's in social media to the point where it's undeniable. And sometimes I hate bringing things up, but I did a video not too long ago about the father that got basically demonized when his kids died, who people thought, when the mother said the kids froze to death in the car in Detroit. And now come to find out the kids died from carbon monoxide poisoning. And then when I say we ignore bad character, this is what I mean. Like, when you initially listen to the story, the young lady said, she was like, she ran out of gas. She said she ran out of gas or whatever, and the kids froze. But nobody paid attention to something. She said she ran out of gas, but at the same time drove the kids to the hospital. You see what I'm saying? In the same exact vehicle. And for me, when I first listened to that story, I was like, it's a lie. You can't tell me you ran out of gas and you drove them. I can understand you homeless and you living in the car. I can very much understand that. And you leave the parking garage because you don't pay the people leaving the parking garage because you're like, look, my kid's dying, they'll just let you out. So I can't say, how did you get out? No, no, no. But I know for a fact that, like, if you ain't got no gas, you ain't leaving that parking lot. I know that for a fact. And I'm not trying to, diss the mother or whatever, but she got online partying and twerking afterwards. And then ironically, there's another, I think the young lady, the rapper in Dallas who got killed with his daughter. And the daughter got killed too. The mother was online kicking it and partying too. You see, like, that's my way. I guess that's they were celebrating the kid. Who knows? It don't come off well. I can tell you that for sure. Because nobody's supposed to be partying and kicking it. That it just doesn't come off well. But getting to the topic, we're ignoring the bad character. We're very much so ignoring it to the point where, as we were talking, I was talking about being ungoverned, and I was like, because she asked me, she says, my wife asked me, what what's a black man's privilege? Like, don't black men have privilege too? And I was like, and I couldn't answer at first, and I was like, our privilege would be fear, but that same privilege could get us killed. So it's really like a catch-22. It's not really a privilege. You get what I'm saying? It's not really a privilege when it's because people are scared of us, and which will cause some people to leave us alone, but it'll cause other people to basically put us in a situation where we can get killed or locked up because of some person's fear. So that's really not a privilege for us. And the bad part about it is, when I say, we ignore that bad character, is people use that as a fact to get us jammed up in situations. Hold on for 1 second. Excuse me. But now we got to play this. We playing this game that we just want to ignore and ignore and ignore. And it can't be. And to me, I don't know how it can still be ignored. Because now, we have to address at some point the character issues. And even when I was listening to Anton's panel, the men and the women, and even the guy, even the was the little Bill guy with that Mr. Z was responding to. You see this over and over again that we just ignore. And you can't tell me somebody's right and they turn the blind eye to something. So this is what I mean. What the things I'm about to say, unfortunately, when women do them in America, they're not wrong. So if a woman lies on a man, whether it be sexual assault, physical assault, how can I say, whether this person withholds a person, keeps a person's child from them, all of these things are excusable. Nobody has an issue with those things. Nobody has an issue with those things. It's just, it's not really treated as illegal. Just recently, if a woman steals out of a man's bank account, it's just become illegal to the point where you're going to get prosecuted for it. But the guy still might not get the money back. He might not get restitution. Like, that's a character issue. So we ignore stuff like that. We go, oh, okay, that's not a big deal. It's like, yeah, that is a big deal. If a woman lies on a guy and costs him his job, not an issue. She doesn't she doesn't lose her job behind of it. She doesn't lose her livelihood behind it. She could lie on a guy, and and then it could be proven that it's a lie. Nothing happens. So since we don't prosecute bad behavior, we ignore it, and it keeps happening. It keeps happening. If a woman sets up a guy to be robbed or killed, It's just become recent where if it's found out she's part of the crew, that she gets actually prosecuted. This has been going on since before I was alive. But now it's become okay, well, it's usually the guys who do the crime, right? But the woman she can't be considered part of the crew. So we're ignoring the bad character. If a mother is abusive, you know what I'm saying? Just like the young lady, how many times have we seen a woman leave their kids in the house to go party or to go on vacation? Kids have died in those scenarios. Um, you know, we've seen this so many times. Recently, there's another one of the chicks in Detroit did the same thing. Left the kids in the house for years. Like this story happens numerous times a year, every year. But people don't. But people don't go as well. At this point, people don't go, where's the dad? You know why people don't say, where's the dad? Because they already know the dad could have been systematically, pushed out of the situation and don't even know what's going on. Because, even with those news stories, that's happened where, the dads found out while the kids were left alone. Send me some food, send me some money. That type of situation, because we've seen a situation where the kids covered for the mom because they didn't want to be away from their siblings because they didn't have the same father, right? But we ignore the bad character of that because we make an excuse for it. This goes on a normal basis, and that's just part of the Me Too movement. With there was a thing recently with Tawana Burke. The lady who Me Too was actually coined, who actually coined Me Too. She even said recently, she doesn't subscribe to believe all women because she knows women lie. But guess what? Through the whole Me Too movement, in all honesty, they've been more women who've lied about what went on than actual women who were telling the truth. They've been numerous men who've got jammed up behind Me Too. But even with those men, they were lied on by numerous people. And it was found out that these people lied on them. Some of them went to jail behind a lie. Some of them went to jail because some of the stories were true and some of them was lies. And it was murky at best that some of it's true and some of it was lies. Well, that it was true. Let's just say that. So people don't realize we're ignoring bad character, because what happens is, what we do is we blame all their bad behavior on the possibility that a man did something, which becomes a huge problem now. Because what happens is you basically take somebody's personal responsibility out of their hands and say everything they do is a reaction to something. So now everything they did was a reaction. If they lied, it was a reaction. If they cheated, it was a reaction. If they stole, it was a reaction. If they, if they manipulated, it was a reaction. If they killed, it was a reaction. If they participated in a crime, and benefited, it wasn't on purpose. It was a reaction. So when you do this type of stuff, what you basically do is excuse bad behavior, and it persists. So one of the things we were talking about was, I was like, with men, they'll say, if you're out here doing the wrong things, they'll tell you something like, hey man, if you keep going down this path, you either gonna be in debt, you either gonna be dead or in prison. There is no female equivalent to that. You don't tell women, hey girl, if you keep doing this, you're gonna wind up dead or in prison, because there is no female equivalent to that, because most of that bad behavior is ignored. Just like back in the day, and it's still true to this day, racially, we have the thing where if you're black and if you're a black man and you commit the same crime as a white man, you're going to do far more time than a white guy. He might do a year, you might do 20 for the same exact thing. but it's the same. But that same dynamic is with women in general. So if a man and a woman commit the same crime, you know, he might do 5, she might do 1, if that, 6 months, something like that, if they commit the same exact crime. So we ignore the bad behavior, the bad character, even to the point where, um, I know this to be true. There are men who are felons. I've known of black men who were felons that couldn't get a job. Every now and then I've seen black men who are felons get jobs, but years and years and years went by. But I've seen numerous black women in my life who've been felons who that wasn't an issue for them. And it's the same thing with white guys. White guys could be felons and it's not an issue for them, because it's not that big. It's not that big of a deal. You get what I'm saying? It's just not viewed the same way. So because of that, we don't really think about something. And there's a statement that especially with mothers, mothers pass down culture. Culture is passed down. What is mothers are the first teachers. Mothers are children's first teachers. They're the teachers of culture, and people don't want to hear it. But even with that situation, if your mom has bad character, she's going to teach you bad character. And this is why I go down this road, because what I see nowadays is a lot of people who were raised by their moms who really have bad character and bad character traits, but because they were raised by their moms, they actually are delusional that they have bad character. I saw my mom raised, my mom did it all. My mom was the mother and the father. Like I saw the dude today say his mom was a husband and a wife. And I'm like, bro, you on drugs. Like, not first your mom was the mother and the father, and now your mom was a husband and a wife to herself. Like, this is you're on drugs. But what I'm saying is, a lot of times you deify your mom's and her actions so much that everything she did was with good purpose and in good faith, and because she was trying to do the right thing. It doesn't dawn on you were raised by somebody who's lied to you your whole life. And there's a lot of people who were raised in a situation where the mom had bad character, but they quote unquote raised them to have good character, but their whole life they were living a lie. And it doesn't dawn on them that their viewpoint and their perspective of being a good person and good character is actually based in something dead wrong. So, and this is why I said we ignore their bad character, because some of you guys and men and women, even with this Dr. Umar thing, I knew something was up, something wrong with the Umar situation when a young lady is 22 years old and she don't know what happened between her mother and her father, and she been with her mother this whole time. So that means her mother didn't tell her anything of substance, which means she's covering up something. You get what I'm saying? I'm not saying Umar is perfect in that situation. He's right in that situation. But I know a cover up when I see one. And this is what I mean. People ignore that. People point in one direction and say this man's wrong, and then they say woman's right. So what winds up happening is people go out with this belief that, man wrong, woman right, and we're not even taking into consideration that women can have bad character too. Women can have low integrity or no integrity too. Women can have bad morals and bad ethics too. It doesn't have to be a situation where a man did something. And I'm gonna say it in this aspect. I know women who basically, I've known women, I think probably still do, I don't know, probably do, who basically use sex as a weapon to get over, whether in corporate America or just a way to get by in life. They don't mind using their body and using sex or selling their body and selling sex to get something from somebody. But the issue, but a lot of that stems. A lot of people think, oh, it's the society, right? Society makes women sexual objects. But from my experience, what it really is women's laziness. She's lazy, so the easiest way to make a buck is to either sell the possibility of sex or sex itself, or use sex as a way to not work as hard. And we ignore that because we go, oh, these men are perverts and these men will do anything for sex. And it's like, yeah, but I know plenty of women who don't want to work, so they'll rather tell you they'll do the freakiest thing to you for about 30 minutes in hopes to have to not work that month. That happens that's more prevalent than the opposite. It's the belief that sex makes you that sexuality will make your life easier. But we ignore that part as having bad character. We don't say, yeah, she just lazy, that's why she out here selling herself. We don't say that. But if a guy was selling drugs, we don't, he's a hustler. No, he lazy too. That's why most guys sell drugs, because they're lazy. It's supposed to be looked at as quick, fast money, but truth be told, the vast majority of those guys don't make money. They're just lazy. They don't want to work a 9 to 5. They don't want to work 10 hours. They don't want to work 12 hours. But they would rather be out there, doing that, doing hand to hands, and working 24/7 with a lot of downtime than just working a job. But we're ignoring the character issue. Now, I got to take this somewhere else. See, when a woman lies, we don't call her a liar. And that's not on women. That's on society. When women lie, we don't say they're a liar, because we overtly look at the possibility of the quote unquote danger of a man towards a woman can, not even can circumvent everything. The possibility of danger. And this is where I hate to have this conversation, but I have to get into this conversation. There are a lot of women in our society that put themselves in a bad situation purposely because they have bad character. See, we don't want to talk about, let's just say, women who are drug addicts. We don't want to talk about them using trying to sell their body because they don't want to pay for drugs. And that's not just a crackhead thing. That's even a thing with girls who want to smoke weed. That's a normal thing. That is a normal thing with girls who do drugs. No matter how hard the drug is or how minor the drug is, they will sell their bodies instead of paying. But we don't say that's it. But we don't want to talk about that. The lying part. We've seen mothers lie to their kids, but she's not considered a liar for it. I'm protecting you. that which is a lie in itself. We don't call a spade a spade. We don't say, listen, you're protecting yourself by lying because you've given your kid a certain, what do you call that? A certain image of you. So you don't want to be looked at in a negative way. So you're going to keep lying to this kid. And at some point they're going to figure it out. But with some people, they might be grown before they figure it out. So that's a character issue. We've had women lie in court, and people who've ever been in family court or criminal court. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Women get caught lying all the time. It is normal. And you know, and I'm gonna say it this way, even in family court, women lying is so normal, they just change the rules to ignore it. Women saying a guy is a deadbeat because he doesn't contact his kid, he doesn't talk to his kid. That was so normal that women said that they started changing the and women got caught so much lying about it. They changed they made an app for it, so the court now knows if you're calling and trying to reach out to your kid and if the person's answering or not. The court records the conversation because they had been lying so much, and the court was going, well, she's a woman, it's got to be true. It changed. Even with child support, people don't even want to think about, guys are deadbeats because they don't pay their child support. Guys get behind in child support. People don't think about it. Women got caught lying so bad they had to change the rules. You can't just wait till a kid turns 17 or 18 and then file child support for 17 years of back child support anymore in every state. Now they put year limits on it. Maybe sometimes it's 5, sometimes it's 3, sometimes it's 7, because they found out too many times that, oh yeah, the woman received money for all these years, and just now, that wasn't on the quote unquote books, and now she's looking for a payout when the kid's grown. We just went past that and just like, oh yeah, they did get caught with that. How many times they got caught lying to Child Protective Services about abuse? It's normalized. The line has gotten normalized to the point where people don't want to deal with it. People just made a new rule and just went to the next. So now, when I say, we ignore their bad character, it's an issue. We do it, even on YouTube. People like to talk about men and the red pill, but the whole little sprinkle movement was just promoting bad character. Use this man for his money and take everything you can get from him and act like you're gonna sleep with him, and that's a perfect way to go. And it's like, that's how you should do it. Okay, that's just bad character. That's just bad character. All black men are dogs. All black men are liars and cheaters. Okay. But when you sleeping with those black men that you say are dogs because they sleeping with everybody, and when you lying with those, on those black men you call liars, or with those black men you call liars, it's not a big deal. That's a character issue. A huge character issue. Enjoy yourself, fam. Have a great day tomorrow. Trust me, I know. I went to sleep when I came home from work, so that's why I'm up right now. I'll be asleep. They don't accept these lies. They do accept them. I take that back. But they know they're lies. Like, we live in a society that they know that they're lying now, and they just go, okay, well, it just cut. This becomes a cover up. Not to mention, part of what I was talking about when I was looking at these videos, people have a hard time dealing with that concept of, maybe women don't have good morals. It can't be true. But yeah, women can have bad morals. There is no consequence for a woman. There is no consequence for a woman to have bad morals, bad ethics, no discipline. What are the 7 deadly sins? Like, let me remember. I gotta remember what the 7 deadly sins are. Not, I know it's wrath, envy, gluttony, pride. What is wrath, envy, gluttony, pride? Oh shoot! I forget. Yeah, I'm looking it up now. Let's see. Lust, yeah, like lust, gluttony, pride, sloth, which is just laziness, wrath, greed, and envy. People act like, thank you. You know, lust, you know, if a man's lusting, it's a deadly sin. If a woman's lusting, it's normalized. The only thing that's not normalized is gluttony. Well, I take that back because gluttony doesn't mean fat. You know what I'm saying? Gluttony is overindulgent, but it's used under fat. You get what I'm saying? Pride, basically your ego. If a man has a bad ego, some people say that's a good thing, some people say that's a bad thing, but it's not looked at as a female thing. Laziness. If a man could be lazy, he's gonna be looked down upon. If a woman's lazy, it's normalized. It's not a big deal. Wrath, uncontrollable feelings of hatred and rage. If wrath can get a man locked up for life or killed. Wrath for a woman could be, hell hath no fury like a woman scorned, so it's excused. Greed, the excessive desire for material things. We see that on social media. Men and women just going for that. Jealousy, jealousy is basically being a hater. that whole list, it's a list of principles, but unfortunately, we look at the list differently when we put a gender to it. And that's what I mean by we ignore bad character. The things that a lustful man could get you locked up as a sexual predator. A lustful woman, that doesn't happen. You get what I'm saying? A angry man could get locked up or killed because he's a danger to society. An angry woman, not so much. It becomes an issue if gluttony is definitely a problem, but what gluttony is looked at as fat, but gluttony is really overindulgence. So that's how they tell you too much of anything is a bad thing. That's gluttony. If you're an overeater, that's gluttony. But if you're an alcoholic, that's gluttony. If you're a shopaholic, that's gluttony. Anything that becomes an addiction is gluttony. But addiction isn't looked at the same way either. It's messed up. Drinking isn't a sin. Drunkenness is looked at as a problem, but drinking isn't a sin. You gotta remember, like people drank. People forget that. People made beer in the quote unquote biblical times because people didn't know how to filter water right. So beer and alcohol, ironically, like people don't think about it, but that's why people died so early, because they spent their whole life drinking beer and alcohol, which was alcohol and alcohol. Beer, wine, liquor, that was kind of a substitute for water because people wasn't drinking water like that because people wasn't filtering water. That's the reason why people didn't, died, especially, when people think about European history, that's why they died so early. It was alcohol and filth. That was the two major things. But it's a character issue I'm getting at. When we're dealing with some of these things, the fact is we're not dealing with these things. That's the issue. We can't say that we're having a hard time saying a woman has a bad character. We're having a very hard time with it. And the situations are getting more and more blatant. And even when the men could be dead wrong. Like I was using the Anthony Edwards situation, and I was saying this is the difference between men and women and consequences and character. So an 18-year-old, if a 32-year-old man was sleeping with an 18-year-old young woman and got her pregnant, the man will be held responsible for what he, like, you need to take care of the kid. You was preying on that young girl. She grown, but you was preying on that young girl. So you got to take care of this situation. That's on you, right? And if you don't, then you're gonna be held to a certain standard or consequence. I said that's a normal thing. But I was like the issue with character when you change the gender is a 32-year-old woman could sleep with an 18-year-old young man, and he's held to that same responsibility as if the ages were switched and the genders were switched. So a 32-year-old woman could go, I slept with an 18-year-old young man, and he needs to take care of me for the rest of my life. Nobody questions, like, wait a minute, you out of pocket. That no, you're a scumbag for that. See, it doesn't work the same way. You see what I'm saying? It doesn't. If even when you use that dynamic, if it's a rich guy and he has, and he stays single because he's like he could be a rich guy and young, or a rich guy and old. It really don't matter. If he's a rich guy and he operates like a sugar daddy, he can be considered a creep at the drop of a hat, because he's just taking care of people, so he doesn't have to take care of people. You get what I'm saying? So he doesn't have to marry people. Like, he just pays them off, gives them. No, he doesn't even really pay them off. He just gives them money, gives them gifts, takes care of them, but he doesn't marry them. That he can be considered a creep because he's not taking care of a woman's life for the rest of her life. But when a woman becomes rich and she becomes that same thing as a sugar mama, it's supposed to be empowering. So that's when we say, that's what I'm saying. Like, when I talk about character, if one person's character is bad for being a sugar daddy, then a sugar mama should have the same creep dynamic, but they don't. So, and it's the same thing, whether it's criminality, whether it's just bad morals. One person is looked at as bad for it, the other person, in essence, is looked at as empowered. You know what I mean? So it becomes an issue. We even look at when my body, my choice. And I remember having that conversation a long time ago, and recently having that conversation with my wife. I was like, my body and my choice is a fallacy, because it's not your body. It's a body in your body. You get what I'm saying? So it's a bad situation. Boy, look at the Temptation. The second member, he'll never be the lead singer. Yeah, whatever, the George. So what winds up happening is we ignore character. And we was talking about that recently on a brother pill, and a whole red pill dynamic. But for me, this is one of the nuances of it. If you got bad character, you got bad character. And we have to actually address bad character as an issue. We can't keep ignoring it based on gender. And it becomes an issue. It starts to suck, because we want our culture to be better, quote unquote, our society to be better, our community to be better. And we don't want to say it's more of a negative issue than a positive issue. And one of the things I was kind of talking about prior to this with my wife was the systematic part of this character. I was like, as a black man, it's different. I said, because as a black man, I can interact with every group, ethnicity, with race, religion, or in gender. And all of those groups at some point can get on a similar or same page to throw me under the bus based on a lie. If it's a black woman, she can go to the court system and do it. If it's white people, they could just band together and lie. They don't have to go to court. They could overcharge me or scam me out of something. If it's Middle Eastern, it's the same scenario. Like I was telling her, if anybody ever listened to the Game first album, the documentary, when they had that clip of that I think there was a movie when the kid was in the like corner store, and it was like, look, I gave you $20. I want my change. And the lady was like, you didn't give me 20. He's like, I gave you $20, home girl. And the kid and a grown like Asian lady got into it because the kid was like, you stealing my money. And I said, that's such a prevalent thing. That was such a prevalent thing. People forget that's how George Floyd died, over basically a $20 bill that a person thought wasn't a real 20, which wound up being a real 20. They skipped through the whole scenario of what actually happened and go, oh, he had fentanyl. I don't want to hear all that. Somebody stereotyped him because he was black and his money wasn't good, but then his money wound up being good, but he's already dead over the $20. You get what I'm saying? So that's how long that's been going on. And if you and as a black man, I've dealt with that, going to the store or the gas station and dealing with people, and they steal from you. That's a normal thing. Yeah. Then do it. Ooh, exactly. That's a hell of a point, right? So now when we get into this ignoring the character, we can't fix it. And I used to talk about this back in the gap, because I was like, we want black men to fix Black America, but we don't want to deal with the character issue of black women. And the reason why I say that is, you can't save people who don't want to save themselves. And this is what I mean by having a bad character. I used to say people have Lois Lane syndrome, and what that meant was Lois Lane knew who Superman was, so Lois Lane would constantly get herself, in a comic book. Lois Lane, pretty much all of the girlfriends or wives of superheroes normally found themselves in messed up situations. That their hero boyfriend or husband had to come save him, to the point that at a certain point they had to stop and not involve them in their superhero lives at all, because they were always in some stuff. And I use that as an example. Like, you see it now with you don't see it now, but well, you do see it now. Take it back. You see it, that was when I was a child, that was the whole I Love Lucy thing. And even now, like when I watch the Miss Pat show, that being self-destructive, but it working out because you're a woman, that don't necessarily work for everybody. It doesn't work the same way, because the consequences are completely different. Yeah, good for me. The consequences are different. So now we can't fix our society because we can only address and fix one side of the equation. So if men have a bad character, we need to fix the men with bad character. But if we fix the men with bad character, that doesn't fix the women. Man, Jerome, bro, thanks, fam. Man, thank you. Man, you caught me off guard with that. I appreciate that, man. Appreciate it. So now we have that issue. Like, what are we gonna do? We can't fix a community when we only fix one character issue. It's the same thing even with the church. The church is the exact same way. Like, that's part of the reason why the men left the church, because you wanted to fix the men because the men were supposed to be so bad, but you never actually address fixing the women. So if the women are actually the ones predominantly raising the kids, what are you going to get? A bad society. And I'm not even going to say that our society got dysfunctional because the kids are undisciplined and out of control, because it's what I'm saying is it's extremes. There's no middle ground. And what I mean is, when you got the young men and the young women who are overly feminist or overly man hating or overly effeminate, that's a problem. That's bad character, because what you wind up having is you have guys who go, you know what? All the men are bad, and because all the men are bad, we have problems, and we just need to have better men. And the problem with that concept is what? If all the men are bad, just for the record, that includes you. But see, we have this ignorant concept of if everybody's bad, it's just I'm the good one. It's like, no, you can't see other people as good. You can't see the good in somebody who doesn't want to engage in bad behavior. And this is why I said we ignore their bad character. It's because of this. Especially when it comes to the male-female dynamic. People don't want to say that some men have walked away from situations with females or women, whether they be, married, whether they have kids together, or whether they just be single and dating. They've walked away for the same doggone reason. That person didn't have good character. So I got to get away from this person because nothing good is going to come from being around this person all the time. You know what I'm saying? Nothing good. So people assume that people got quote unquote left because the guy walked away because he was a horrible person. No, the guy walked away because, there are guys who walked away because they got lied on to the point where they got the police called on them based on a lie. So I can't be in this situation no more. I can't do this because you're gonna wind up getting me killed. So I'm walking away. They've gotten guys who walked away, and we know the stories, paternity fraud. My dad, don't love me no more. My dad's a deadbeat. But your mama didn't tell you your dad ain't the guy you thought was your dad ain't really your dad. She can't break that news to you. So now you go years thinking that dad's a deadbeat, but mom said, that's not, but it's proven that that's not your dad. Or your mom told your dad that he wasn't your dad and your dad walked away. And it took y'all years to clear that up. And he could be your dad, he couldn't be your dad. You get what I'm saying? And then you've got situations where, ladies have, stolen from things or put men in danger. See, some men walked away because you put them in danger. You might not have called the police on them, but your behavior put them in a situation where that you could have got them killed. You could have got yourself killed and could have got them killed trying to save you. They walked away because they're like, I can't do this. But see, that's looked at as a guy being a deadbeat or not man enough. You get what I'm saying? I had and this is what I mean. Like, sad story. I've told it before, but I had a female friend who, when I was younger, was in my 20s. She was attractive, super thick, but she had this bad habit of she just wanted to turn guys down, and she would get just wasted, like super drunk when she would go out. So what she would like doing was like being very provocative, very sexual, get very drunk, and then get guys wanted to talk to her, and she got a kick out of what do you call that? Rejecting them, rejecting them, and then it thanks, fam. They all want men to be bad even when it's not true. Yeah, exactly. So exactly that. So she what she did was, and I hate to say this, she escalated her behavior from rejecting guys to rejecting guys over the phone, like I don't want to talk to you, to let me go to your house and act like I'm gonna have sex with you and reject you and then go home. And I'm like, hey, you need to chill that out before you get yourself hurt. And one night she got robbed. Somebody broke into her car. That's what happened. Somebody broke into her car the first time. And I'm like, and she's like, man, somebody broke into my car. I was like, you was doing that stupid stuff again. Stop doing that. The second time, she got robbed at gunpoint, like outside of the guy's house. Because a lot of times when you leave the club, it's like, it could be 12, 1, 2, 3 in the morning. It just depends, right? And the second time it was at gunpoint. And I'm like, hey, you got robbed. They broke into your car the last time. Now they almost shot you in the face. And you lucky it was in the middle of the night. They could have put the gun in your face and tried to and just took it from you, if you know what I mean, right? And she's like, whatever, it's okay. And I'm like, no, it's not okay. The third time, she wound up getting her, you know, a guy took it from her. And then she was all broken up about, like, I don't like men, I hate men, men of this, men of that, da 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 da. You know, so now it's an issue. Hold that thought. Hold that thought. Sorry about that, y'all. I got a phone call, so my apologies. Um, Back to the story. So when 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 the guy took it from her, then she had an issue with men from that point on. And I don't I couldn't get I couldn't get mad at her for having an issue with men, but I was upset with her for constantly putting herself in that dangerous situation. And the issue becomes, like I said, when, like, playing with fire. And that's the issue when I say we ignore bad character, because the consequences for women aren't the same for men. Women are more accustomed to playing with fire. They're more accustomed to putting themselves in situations that a guy will get themselves killed in, and it's like, this is not good. This is really not good. And I don't understand it. I never did. This idea that I can put myself in a bad situation, and because I'm a woman, I'm smarter than men, and I can think my way out of it. You can't think your way out of a situation when you're dealing with wolves. Sorry, that's not how that goes. And what I mean is that the over indulgence of, and this and I'll say this before I end it. Um, what I personally think is women are looking for an adrenaline rush in negative behavior because they don't have any consequences for it. So, just like a guy would be an adrenaline junkie by jumping out of airplanes or speeding, whether in cars or motorcycles, or we call it, or fighting, or sometimes weightlifting, whatever it is to get a rush, playing certain sports or whatever. I think women do the same thing, with manipulation, with lying, with the drama, with gossip and tea, with ruining of reputations. I think that's the way that some people, they have an adrenaline rush from. And because there's no real consequence from it, they the behavior persists, and it continues and it continues, because this isn't something that just stops when you think people are supposed to grow up and grow out of things. You see women 40s, 50s, and 60s still gossiping, still lying, still manipulating, still you know doing things that can cost people their freedom, their life, or their reputation, and they're just having a ball and thinking it's fun and cute. You still see women breaking the law and just, I didn't know. I did not do that. They're playing dumb thing, because they get a rush out of the that's their way to be rebellious. And because of that, they teach that to the kids. And that's why sometimes when kids have them dumb excuses and dumb looks on their face, a lot of times women have the same dumb looks and dumb excuses the dumb looks on their face and the dumb excuses, and people don't believe it. But it's the same aspect where, with kids and women, where the consequences are very similar. There's always slaps on the wrist, or there are constant slaps on the wrist, or they're constant, it's, I'm giving you a warning. And if you keep giving people a warning, the behavior never ceases. See, a lot of times, and I can say this in this way, even with raising kids, boys and girls as children know that there's going to be consequences. You get what I'm saying? They know I can get a whipping, I can get punishment, yada, yada, yada. And a lot of times we live in a society where boys and girls can run from punishment from a father because a mother's more lenient. But the other thing is, the interesting thing is, when girls hit puberty, the idea of a man disciplining them by putting their hands on them goes out of the window. So that's when I see the bad character rise, because when a boy hits puberty, you can knock him out. Like, if he get out of line, you can knock him out. When a girl hits puberty, you're not supposed to touch her for some odd reason. So that, nobody can check me, nobody can touch me, nobody can whip me, nobody can tell me anything. That grows because there is no disciplinarian hand being put down. There is no physical consequences from that point on. And because there is no physical consequences, you see people pushing the envelope like crazy. And because of that, the bad behavior persists and it persists and it persists. I know young ladies who've been lying, cheating, and scamming their family for years, and they just, okay, it's okay. She's a girl. They would never let the boys do that. I take that back. Well, no, I take that back. Because there's some boys that are just out of pocket. The family's just always trying to financially help them. The family go broke behind that. So that happens both ways. But usually the family's going broke because they need lawyer fees and fees for this and fees for that, because the boy got himself locked up. The daughter, it don't get like that. They don't have to spend as much money because, and here's the crux of the situation. We ignore their bad character because there's an overarching assumption that there's a man somewhere who's going to be financially responsible, physically responsible, and morally responsible for covering this young woman to this old woman. So no matter how bad her character is, there's a man that's going to be there to have to take responsibility from it. And that's where things go bad, because now men are getting looked at terribly because men don't want to cover somebody with bad character. It ain't just, an attraction issue. It's a character issue, because there's, if you get online, there's a plethora of beautiful single women out here. And the reason why they're single is because they're bad human beings. They might be beautiful enough to have a fantasy sexcapade with, but you don't want them around you. That's just what it is. So, it's almost 11 o'clock. I'm gonna call that a night, man. And this video is done. So I'm gonna do the outro, and I'll catch you on the next one whenever I do something. Peace. And thank y'all.
It looks like a job for Superman.
Do this,
spoken from the lips of the young or the old, fear of me.
Yeah, gotta put it all in.
And they are Superman
all the way.
I guess I'm taking on off the cake through the glasses in the trash. Being super is great, saving y'all is such a drag. Even God took a break, me I ain't coming back. I got one life to live, if you don't like it, that's your ass. Cause nobody saved me, plus when I'm drunk, I'm just a peon. I could use somebody just like I'm the kings of neon. This world is cold as ice, mixed with salt, mixed with freon. They got me pissed off, but that's better than being peed on. For eons, human beings took kindness for weakness. When you constipated, you start to appreciate shit. Put before you life and death, and you just gotta choose. The kryptonite life means you should follow the rules. If your credit's messed up or your bills ain't paid, then it's getting disconnected. Can't nobody say the day. And I can fly, leave a building in a single bound, but I can't stand fair weather friends, and I just fly around. My super friends in Justice League, only folk I kick it with. Kill Lex Luthor, so what? We had to finish it. Kids play games and adults play for keeps. And me, I play to win, but I ain't playing in these streets. And life is not a joke, then again it ain't this serious. Superman can say the day, but God can say the Superman. Saga of the kryptonite, life just ended. You enjoy listening? Man, I finished it. Lois, come holler at me. I got an ice couch. Thank you. Coming out. Listen. I knew you would like it because we made it. I'm so frigid and so fly.